Hello and welcome to Grumpy Gamers. You're here with me, Pete, and just Ben today.
Just me.
Just you.
It's a different style of video, isn't it?
It's a very different style of video. And also, I don't think either of the other two could say a useful word about Elden Ring, really, could they?
No, this is definitely our take. It's our type of game. I think Eddie would reference Devil May Cry
many times.
Kirk, he's just not this type of gamer.
Exactly, he's not. And unlike us...
It's too long and hard for him, I'd say. Oh, yeah. Clip that.
But unlike us, they're not as excited about this, and I don't know about you. I, for one, am really looking forward to Elden Ring.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been all over this one. I mean, I've been last year or so looking forward to the initial trailer, and then the initial trailer, whew, mind blown.
Yeah, exactly. And everything we've seen since has just helped to sort of cement it as a game I really want to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I think the best place to start with that, really, in terms of our expectations, is the open world itself, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously this is the first FromSoft game where they're doing an open world.
Yeah.
We've had the Dark Souls games before. We've had Sekiro, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, like games like that, but they're all crafted, aren't they? They're all almost linear and crafted games, where this is the first open world game they're doing. And the big question for me is, will they be able to consistently put the quality that they have previously put into their kind of linear style games into something where you can go anywhere, do anything, go in any direction? Can they get that consistent quality going?
And this is the trick. So many of their previous games, or all of their previous games, are shaped by the environment as much as the enemy. So having a completely different environment, and we've got 6 sections of an open world with a hub that travels between them.
Yeah.
That's the description of the lands between we have so far. But we know there's no towns and cities, because Miyazaki doesn't like implementing towns and cities. So, and we know as well that it's not going to be like Ubisoft or anything else, and they're not going to label the map for you, at least not with anything beyond the main story.
No, and you'd hope not in this type of Souls-like experience.
Exactly, and it means you're going to actually have to investigate all the parts of this world if you want to find things. It's not ignorable.
Yeah.
Then nothing is ignorable.
You're right. I mean, the thing about the network test was that there seemed a density about the land. So one of the risks in open world games that you get is that you get a lot of travel time between areas.
Yeah.
But actually, there's nothing really to do between point A and point B. And maybe even at point B, there's not something great at the end of it anyway.
Yeah.
But this type of game, though, in the network test, it was all crammed in. There was loads of stuff. So it gave the impression that this will be fleshed out, and it shouldn't just be vast space of emptiness. But that is kind of a risk with these games, that especially the quality that they like to deliver, what is in the moment-to-moment gameplay between two places. And secondly, when you do get to that new dungeon or something, I wonder how that's going to work with some players visiting that dungeon and some not. Like, how important can each individual dungeon and mini boss be?
Exactly, and I think it was a quote of Miyazaki again, who said that you can actually skip half of the main bosses.
Yeah. Okay.
So, let alone the mini bosses, you only have to fight 3 of the demigods in theory.
Right.
So it makes how this is going to function a really interesting question for me. And then, things like the legacy dungeons, like we saw Stormvale Keep in the network test, didn't we? And that looks an incredibly interesting place to go. But how they're going to mesh that into the open world itself is a really good question.
I mean, the game that sticks out to me that did it so well was Skyrim, because that very much had the dungeon-like approach, where you could visit some place that somebody else hasn't visited, and it really could have a massive payoff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't mandatory, and somebody else would do the exact same thing with another dungeon and get that killer weapon or something, and it changes their whole playthrough. So I wonder if it is going to be like that, and that does add tremendous replayability as well.
It really does. And the fact that they are still so keen on NPCs, by the way, which I think they called them protagonists, which is an interesting choice in itself, without doing towns and cities, means the function in this, I mean, it has an awful lot of opportunities, including the fact that you might ride the same A to B route twice and have a different experience each time, which is something that you don't see often.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last thing on this is, for me, is that Dark Souls 1, and I know you were a massive fan of Dark Souls 1 as well.
Yeah.
The artistic kind of mastery in the direction and linked world construction was incredible. The fact that whole world was linked, there was no like portal movement from somewhere to somewhere. It was all linked and all constructed and all masterfully woven together. Elden Ring could be a bit more like that, just in this open world setting, but it's kind of like, it's actually the same type of thing, the same type of linked world construction. I'm just wondering who they've got working on this, putting this together, because I honestly think this is probably moving more towards that Souls 1 type interplay of the world setting, even though it's open world. And that's what gives me confidence that this sounds and probably will be excellent.
Fantastic, and I really hope it is. But
absolutely,
we should probably jump on to the second thing, which I know has excited both of us at certain points, which is the story and the narrative. And really, are we expecting a revolution, a shift change for From Software with this? Because obviously this is the first game they've done where the story came first and the game itself came second.
Yeah, I do wonder on this one, because we know with FromSoft games and the Dark Souls games in particular that the lore has been incredibly deep, but limited on the surface of the game. Like, the player itself themselves doesn't really uncover that true narrative, that true understanding, until they do a lot more research in the background. I mean, at least that was the case with me, and I think a lot of other people. Even though they have George R.R. Martin kind of, or had him involved in the world construction and everything, do you think that's going to change this time?
Well, I mean, I think the fragmented delivery system of sort of seeing things in item descriptions or in your own research is definitely still going to be there. But I feel that post Sekiro, they've got to feel more confident in using dialogue and cutscenes to deliver some of the story.
That's a great point, yeah.
So I suspect, along with George Martin's involvement, and you can guarantee that he would have had some heavy-handed words about how he wanted the story to flow. If you've invited him, that's what you're going to get. I reckon there may well be a higher level surface with a higher level surface level stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's more hybrid.
Beneath. Yeah,
a hybrid kind of between more cutscenes, a bit more in terms of the delivery of dialogue to actually drive the narrative, rather than these kind of almost
afterthoughts.
But it's like a vivid world of Destiny usually. Yeah. These weird kind of a protagonist. Let's call them protagonists, so they're going to call them protagonists. Like, just giving you these like little snippets of things which are almost poetry, but and Destiny all in one kind of wrapped up kind of package. It's a weird delivery system that I think turns off a lot of players because they don't really truly know what's going on.
Yes. And it can, I mean, the first one in particular, it's so difficult for people when they first get into it, that not knowing why you're doing things really can make for quite a difficult thing to get invested in, to really immerse yourself in. So I think, hopefully this one is going to be a lot more seamless for that first time experience.
Yeah, I hope so, because I think this is one that a lot more people may get behind. The hype for this game has been more than any of their previous games. I mean, this one is the most hyped yet. Massive. So I hope more people get on board with it.
Exactly, and massively so. But I think that actually nicely moves us on to the third sort of question I had for you, which really, the hype ties into this, because doesn't this feel like it could be the first generation defining game?
It does feel like that. I mean, this year, 2022, is huge for gaming. There's been numerous delays for games that are now coming back into the fray. However, many of these kind of games are direct sequels. So you got like Horizon Forbidden West, you've got the new God of War coming out. Elden Ring has the benefit of the tried and tested similar games that have come before, but will have that fresh enough take, the different lore, the different background, to be viewed as something completely different and exciting, especially in that open world setting. So it's like the best of both worlds for Elden Ring to really pull it together and be this game that people actually go, right, that's next gen. The only thing holding it back, in my eyes, is a lot of commentary on the graphics. And that may pull it back from that kind of generation defining status, because obviously it is on the last gen consoles as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just on PS5 and Series X and PC and not what. So it is in that kind of slightly held back mode, but for new like games, the artistry, the development, I possibly so. What do you think?
I think, well, it's a tricky one, because you make a good point, but wouldn't it define this generation so far if it's not quite the finished article? That's the sad fact.
That is the sad fact.
And I suppose my hope and my expectation for Elden Ring is that it will be the finished article, and it might not be perfect, and it might not be utilising every single power of the new consoles because it wants to fit in on the old ones. But if it is a complete experience at the same level that they've delivered before, then I for one think it does kind of define this generation for me.
It was so far, I think, and then you get the next gen upgrade comes in, and that defines it even more, because that's what games will be doing. But the I mean, you got Elden Ring at the start of this year, you got Starfield to look forward to at the end of the year, kind of bookending it nicely, and these could be two massive games that we'll look back on in 5 years and go, okay, they were the games that really kick-started this generation.
Exactly. And that's at least what we can hope for, isn't it?
Yeah, we find out in a month's time, don't we?
Well, we don't have to hope much longer, at least. Elden Ring releases less than a month away.
Ooh, lovely. And this kind of style of video is more like our podcast, and if you haven't listened to that, it comes out every Wednesday wherever you download your podcasts.
But for today, it's GG.
GG.